Take number 68. All right, so the the TED Talk of concern for this video is called East versus West: The Myths That Mystify by Devdutt Putnike. Just a disclaimer, I am not using a script for this video, so that's why I'm like on take number like 60 bajillion. So I'm not really going to talk about the content of the TED Talk itself. Rather, I'm going to kind of be elaborating on one of the points that Dave makes about. It's actually more just the comparison between logos and mythos, because he kind of introduces this point and it kind of becomes the one of the main points of his TED Talk. So just kind of like a brief summary of what logos and mythos are, in my understanding. Logos is more about the fact it's all about it being analytical and trying to find meaning in everything. Whereas mythos, on the other hand, is quite opposite. It is more subjective. It is, if it makes sense to you, you kind of just go along with it. If it makes sense, just do it. And I'm going to just kind of explain some experiences that I've had, or I've known some people had in my life, that kind of pertain to like the goods and the bads of each of these two values. And then, of course, I'm going to explain the actual video that's going on right now. You see me working on some Photoshop art, and I'm going to be explaining that at the end of the video. Alright, so in the case of logos, like one of the good things that I've experienced in my life is that logos really helps you be organized. Like one of these situations for me was like the Eisenhower decision matrix. So a large part of my life I've been relatively disorganized, and I've just had so much stress because I didn't know what to do. I was always missing stuff and whatever. Then I found this Eisenhower decision matrix, and I just have to focus on like I technically like analyzing what is important to me, and then I'm organizing it meticulously into like 4 quadrants. I'm just looking off my wall right now where I have this whiteboard set up with the Eisenhower decision matrix on. In the first quadrant, I put in tasks that take less time and that are due sooner. Then the second quadrant, I have tasks that take more time and are due sooner. Third quadrant, I have tasks that take less time and that are due later. And then on the fourth quadrant, it's tasks that take more time and are due later. So I just kind of do them in that order. And it really helped out a lot. I think I'll elaborate more on what this whole process is maybe another time. So yeah, one of the advantages of being analytical is that it I don't really know if you can count. I kind of think it's pretty analytical because you're really focusing on yeah, you know what, I'll debate on that. Does this count as logos or not? I'll kind of debate on that. Maybe we can have like a small discussion on that. But I think for right now that falls under good. And like I think one of the bad things was like I had this experience in middle school art class where the art teacher set out a flower vase with some like nice yellow flowers, purple flowers, something like that. I don't quite remember. It was many years ago. What I do remember is that we were given a pencil and a piece of paper, and we were told to write down what that flower meant to us. And she told us like she already gave us the outline saying what do you think the yellow mean? What do you think the yellow petals mean? What do you think the structure of the flowers means? And there's all things like this. And I just sat there for the longest time thinking, how am I supposed to know what each of those means? Am I supposed to say like the flower looks like a sun, so that's why they call it like a sunflower or something like that? And actually, that's probably right, but I'm sure it we're trying to be overly analytical and trying to find meaning in something that absolutely didn't need for us to find meaning in. Like it's a pot of flowers. You're just supposed to look at it and think, "Huh, that looks kind of cool." And I think that was one of the bad things that came out of Logos. It's trying to be overly analytical. In the case of Mythos, so again, that's the one where it's a lot more subjective. One of the good things is, one of the good things that did happen to me is almost online with if it just makes sense, do it. So I normally go to CrossFit every week. So that's gym. And for the past 3 weeks, I just haven't been able to go. And I thought, I need more exercise. So literally the day before the run for the Rams 5K, I thought, I need more exercise. This 5K is coming up. I also need volunteer hours. So I'll just be Marty the Ram and then run a 5K. That'll give me exercise and do that. And as crazy as that, as simple and crazy as that sounds, I think that falls under one of the good aspects of Mythos. And one of the bad things about Mythos, this is more of what happened to a family member of mine, maybe not an immediate family member, but just a family member. He's very much a Mythos kind of person. He, if it makes sense, if anything makes sense to him, he just does it. Like, for example, his TV goes out in the middle of the night. Then he realizes, I elected my local congressman to deal with these kind of problems. So I'm just going to walk over to his house in the middle of the night since my TV program ran out, and I'm going to knock on his door and say, hey, fix this. Just things like that. But he because of his nature was also very overly trusting with people. So what that meant was, just overly trusting with people, and mainly in business and everything. And that ended up screwing him over in the end, where people cheated him out of money. I'm pretty sure that falls on one of the bad parts of Mythos, because Mythos, you kind of are, I feel people who like that are a lot more overly trusting. I really need to clarify these values in class. I don't think this is a more proper presentation. Anyways, ignore that. All right, so now we're back to the Photoshop piece. The Photoshop piece is by this time it should have already shown maybe like a scale that has like a heart and a brain in it. The brain represents Logos, the kind of analytical mind, and the heart represents kind of the emotional Mythos mind, or the feelings. And it's supposed to kind of represent just like maintaining a balance of both values, because if it remains unbalanced, that's bad. Because you don't want to be too emotional, but at the same time you don't want to be too analytical. And then the eyes in the background are just different perceptions of, they're just kind of, you know what, I think I was about to use those for like a different piece. You know what, ignore those for right now. If you find, I'm not going to tell you what those mean. You can use your Mythos to figure that out. All right, well, that's my really terrible 6th attempt at making this presentation. Oh dear. Okay. I'm out.